8 months remained until the hegemony deadline, and humanity transformed in ways no one thought possible. Every factory, every shipyard, every research facility converted to military production. People worked 18-hour shifts building weapons they knew would probably fail, ships they knew would be destroyed, and defenses they knew would be broken. Dr. Rachel Kim stood in the underground laboratory complex beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching her team work on humanity's most desperate project. They called it Project Prometheus, and it involved giving artificial intelligence systems complete control over human warships. The theory is simple, Rachel explained to the visiting military officials. Human reaction time is too slow to fight the hegemony effectively. Their ships can change direction, fire weapons, and deploy defenses faster than human pilots can think, but our AI systems can think at light speed. Admiral Morrison, recently promoted to command all human space forces, studied the prototype AI core. What about the ethical concerns? We've always maintained human control over military systems. Rachel laughed without humor. Ethics are a luxury for species that expect to survive. If we're all going to die anyway, we might as well let the machines try to take some aliens with us. The AI project faced enormous challenges. The quantum consciousness matrices required to run autonomous warships needed more power than most human settlements could generate. The programming was incredibly complex, and mistakes would result in ships that might attack human targets instead of alien ones. But the biggest problem was emotional. Humanity had always prided itself on keeping machines under human control. Now they were preparing to hand over their most powerful weapons to artificial minds and hope for the best. On Luna Colony, Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell worked on a different kind of desperate measure. His team was developing quantum disruption, weapons that could potentially damage hegemony ships, but the weapons had one major flaw. They would destroy any human ship that fired them. The quantum cascade is impossible to control once it starts, Tony explained to his assistant, Dr. Sarah Williams. The weapon will create a space-time disruption that tears apart anything within 10,000 kilometers. Sarah looked at the mathematical models on her screen. So whoever fires this weapon will die instantly. Along with everyone else on the ship, yes. But the disruption might be powerful enough to damage or destroy several hegemony vessels. One human ship for 3 or 4 alien ships might be the best trade we can get. The suicide weapon project received immediate approval from military command. Within weeks, engineering teams across human space were building quantum disruption devices and installing them on volunteer ships. Finding volunteers was not difficult. Thousands of people requested assignment to the suicide squadron. Captain Lisa Murphy, commander of the converted freighter Spirit of Boston, was among the first to volunteer. Her ship had been hauling cargo between Earth and the outer colonies for 15 years. Now it would carry a quantum disruption weapon into the heart of the hegemony fleet. I've lived a good life, Lisa told her crew during their final briefing. I've seen the rings of Saturn, walked on alien worlds, and helped build humanity's expansion into space. If my death can save even one human colony, it's worth it. Her crew, all volunteers, nodded in agreement. They had removed all escape pods from their ship and replaced them with additional weapons and armor. There would be no retreat and no surrender. On New Terra Colony, 18-year-old Jake Patterson joined the military training program, along with thousands of other young people. The training was accelerated and brutal, designed to prepare soldiers for a war that would likely last only days. You're not training to win battles, Drill Sergeant Karen Lopez told the new recruits. You're training to make the hegemony pay the highest possible price for destroying us. Every alien ship you damage, every alien soldier you kill, every minute you delay their advance is a victory. The average age of humanity's military dropped to 23 as teenagers volunteered to fight in hopeless battles. Parents watched their children prepare for war, knowing they would never see them again. But the most remarkable changes happened among civilian populations. On Europa Station, Administrator Peter Clark converted the entire ice mining operation into a fortress. Families that could have evacuated to safer locations chose to stay and fight. My grandfather fought in the Titan Wars, said maintenance worker Betty Carter. My father helped build this station from nothing. I'm not running away just because some aliens think they own the galaxy. Similar scenes played out across human space. The asteroid belt mining colonies, always independent and tough, began building hidden weapon caches and planning guerrilla warfare. Even if the hegemony destroyed all human worlds, the miners would keep fighting from asteroid bases that might stay hidden for years. Earth itself became the center of the most massive military buildup in human history. Factory worker Danny Rodriguez worked 16-hour shifts building fighter craft that everyone knew were inadequate compared to alien technology. "My daughter asked me why we're building ships that can't win," Danny told his supervisor. "I told her we're not building them to win. We're building them to show the galaxy that humanity doesn't give up." The scientific community made breakthrough discoveries born from desperation. Dr. Brooks, working with international teams, figured out how to decode hegemony communication protocols. The breakthrough would allow human forces to intercept alien, tactical communications during battle. "We can't match their technology," Lisa explained to the research team. "But we can understand their tactics and maybe predict their movements. It won't win the war, but it might help us kill more of them." Military strategists developed new tactics based on humanity's only advantages: unpredictability and willingness to sacrifice everything. Traditional military doctrine was abandoned in favor of suicide attacks, ramming maneuvers, and weapons that destroyed everything in their blast radius. Admiral Morrison reviewed the final battle plans from his command center on Earth. The strategy was simple and terrible. Human forces would attack in waves, each one designed to destroy itself, while inflicting maximum damage on hegemony ships. "The first wave will be our conventional fleet," Morrison explained to his staff. 300 ships using normal tactics to test their defenses and gather intelligence. He moved to the next part of the plan. "The second wave will be the Suicide Squadron. 50 ships carrying quantum disruption weapons. They'll target the largest hegemony vessels and detonate at close range. The final wave would be the AI-controlled ships, programmed to continue fighting even after all human operators were dead. The artificial minds would learn from each battle, becoming more effective as the war continued." "How long do we estimate the war will last?" asked Colonel Sandra Blake. Morrison looked at the tactical projections on his screen. "Intelligence suggests the hegemony expects to finish us in 72 hours. Our goal is to make it last at least a week." 3 months before the deadline, humanity received unexpected visitors. The hegemony monitoring systems detected massive construction projects and military buildup across human space. Overseer Zenth Ka appeared simultaneously on every human world to deliver a new message. "The hegemony observes extensive military preparations among human settlements. These preparations are pointless. Your resistance will accomplish nothing except to make your extinction more painful." President White responded on behalf of all humanity. "Tell your masters that we understand the situation perfectly. We're going to lose this war and die as a species, but we're going to make you remember us." The alien's crystalline form flickered with what might have been amusement or annoyance. 43 species have made similar statements. None are remembered except in hegemony archives as examples of foolish defiance. Karen smiled coldly. "Then we'll be number 44. But unlike the others, we're going to hurt you badly enough that the galaxy notices." When the transmission ended, humanity had less than 3 months to finish their preparations for the shortest and most hopeless war in galactic history. The hegemony arrived 2 weeks early, hoping to catch humanity unprepared. Instead, they found every human settlement ready for war, with populations that had spent months preparing to die fighting rather than live surrendering. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the battleship Defiant, watching long-range sensors detect the approaching alien fleet. The hegemony force was larger than expected. Over 2,000 ships, including planet killers that could destroy entire worlds with single shots. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Morrison," he broadcast on the fleet-wide channel. "Today we write the final chapter of human history. Make it a chapter the galaxy will never forget." The first battle began at the edge of human space, where Morrison led 300 human ships against the alien advance force. The human fleet looked pitiful compared to the massive crystal vessels that emerged from folded space like deadly jewels catching starlight. Captain Lisa Murphy commanded the converted freighter Spirit of Boston, part of the Suicide Squadron waiting, behind the main battle line. Her ship carried a quantum disruption weapon that would destroy everything within 10,000 kilometers when it detonated. "Remember the plan," Lisa told her crew over the intercom. "We target the largest enemy ship we can reach, get as close as possible, and make sure our sacrifice counts." The battle started badly for humanity. Hegemony weapons tore through human ships like they were made of paper. The alien vessels moved faster than human sensors could track, appearing and disappearing through space-time folds that made conventional tactics useless. But something unexpected happened in the first hour of fighting. Commander Amy Rodriguez, leading a squadron of fighter craft from Mars Colony, discovered that human ships were too small and fast for the hegemony's massive weapons to target effectively. "All fighters, this is Rodriguez," she broadcast to her squadron. "Their big guns can't track us. Get in close and target their sensor arrays." The small human fighters swarmed around the alien capital ships like angry insects, their weapons barely scratching the crystalline hulls but managing to damage delicate sensor equipment. For the first time in millennia, hegemony ships found themselves partially blinded during battle. On Mars itself, the colonists watched the space battle while preparing their own desperate defense. General Katie Bell, commanding ground forces, had converted the planet's industrial infrastructure into weapons. Mining lasers became anti-ship guns, construction mechs became mobile weapons platforms, and even passenger shuttles carried bombs and suicide pilots. "They'll have to land troops to occupy our colonies," Katie told her officers. "That's when we make them pay the real price for conquering us." In space, the battle reached its turning point when Captain Murphy led the Suicide Squadron into the heart of the hegemony fleet. Her ship, the Spirit of Boston, targeted a massive alien command vessel that was coordinating the enemy attack. "This is Captain Murphy to all human forces," she broadcast, as her ship accelerated toward the alien capital ship. "It's been an honor, serving with you all." The quantum disruption weapon detonated just as the Spirit of Boston collided with the hegemony command vessel. The space-time cascade that followed was visible from Mars as a brilliant flash that temporarily blinded observation satellites. When the light faded, the alien command ship was gone, along with 3 smaller vessels that had been caught in the quantum disruption field. For the first time in galactic history, the hegemony had lost major warships to what they considered a primitive species. Dr. Brooks, monitoring the battle from her mobile laboratory aboard the research vessel Discovery, managed to intercept hegemony communications during the confusion following the quantum weapon detonation. "I'm reading their tactical frequencies," she reported to Admiral Morrison. "They're calling for reinforcements and requesting new targeting protocols for small craft." The intercepted communications revealed something important. The hegemony was surprised by human tactics. Their automated battle systems were programmed to fight conventional military forces, not suicidal enemies who turned cargo ships into bombs and used mining equipment as weapons. Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell, working frantically in the Discovery's workshop, made another breakthrough. By analyzing debris from destroyed hegemony ships, he discovered that their hulls were vulnerable to sustained particle bombardment at specific frequencies. "It's like finding a crack in diamond armor," Tony explained to Dr. Brooks. "If we can hit the same spot repeatedly with exactly the right energy frequency, we can actually penetrate their hulls." The discovery led to new tactics. Human ships began coordinating their attacks with multiple vessels targeting the same points on alien hulls, while fighter squadrons kept the enemy sensors disrupted. The battle for Mars began when hegemony troop transports descended toward the planet's surface. General Bell's ground forces opened fire with everything they had: converted mining lasers that could punch holes through alien armor, construction mechs armed with improvised weapons, and hidden missile batteries that had been built into the colony domes. "Welcome to Mars," Katie broadcast to the alien forces as her weapons lit up the sky. Population: 4 million humans who refused to surrender. The ground battle lasted 6 days longer than hegemony projections had estimated. Human soldiers fought from the ruins of cities, from underground tunnels, from hidden bases scattered across the planet's surface. Even when their weapons were destroyed and their positions overrun, they continued fighting with improvised explosives and melee weapons. 16-year-old Jake Patterson, fighting with the Mars Defense Force, found himself defending a supply depot against alien soldiers twice his size. Armed with nothing but a mining laser and determination, he held his position for 8 hours before reinforcements arrived. "They're bigger and stronger than us," Jake told his squad leader, Sergeant Davis Wright. "But they don't understand why we keep fighting when we know we're going to lose." The sergeant smiled grimly. "That's because they've never fought humans before. We're too stupid to know when to quit." In space, Admiral Morrison's fleet was being systematically destroyed, but they were taking aliens with them. Human ships rammed hegemony vessels when their weapons failed, exploded themselves when surrounded, and continued broadcasting defiant messages even as they died. The AI-controlled ships, operating according to Dr. Kim's programming, began showing unexpected tactical brilliance. Learning from each engagement, the artificial minds developed new strategies that surprised even their creators. The AI ship Independence, commanded by an artificial intelligence that had named itself Freedom, managed to destroy 2 hegemony destroyers, using a tactic no human had programmed. It pretended to be disabled, waited for the aliens to approach, then detonated its reactor core at the precise moment to catch both enemy ships in the explosion. As the battle entered its second week, something unprecedented happened. The hegemony fleet, which should have finished off humanity in days, found itself bogged down in a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that refused to accept defeat. Overseer Zenth Ka, commanding the hegemony forces from his flagship, sent a message to the surviving human colonies. "Your resistance serves no purpose. You cannot win this war. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." President White, broadcasting from her bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, replied for all humanity, "We're not trying to win, alien. We're trying to teach the galaxy what defiance looks like." The message was intercepted and recorded by hidden AI, transmitters that Dr. Kim had scattered throughout human space. Unknown to either side, the artificial intelligences were already preparing to broadcast humanity's final stand to every world in hegemony territory. As Earth itself came under attack, and the last human ships prepared for their final battle, Admiral E. Morrison received one last report from his intelligence officers. The intercepted hegemony communications revealed growing concern among alien commanders about the unexpected duration and cost of the human war. "They're requesting additional forces and new tactical guidance," reported Lieutenant Commander Susan Taylor. "Our resistance is forcing them to commit resources they didn't expect to use." Morrison smiled as he watched the planet-killer ships approach Earth. Humanity was about to become extinct, but they had already achieved something important. They had shown the galaxy that the hegemony could be hurt, that their perfect order could be disrupted, and that freedom was worth dying. For the final battle for Earth was about to begin. The news spread across human space faster than any ship could travel. Every colony, every space station, every settlement from Earth to the furthest mining outpost received the same terrible message. Humanity had 1 year to surrender everything they had built or face complete destruction. Dr. Lisa Brooks sat in her laboratory on Earth, staring at the quantum signatures the hegemony ships had left behind. As Earth's leading expert on alien technology, she had been asked to study everything the sensors had recorded during first contact. What she found made her hands shake as she typed her report. The alien technology was thousands of years ahead of anything humans had developed. Their ships could fold space and time, making them appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly. Their weapons could destroy entire planets with single shots. Their manufacturing capabilities were beyond human understanding. Lisa's computer finished running the final calculations. She read the numbers 3 times before accepting what they meant. Humanity's entire military fleet of 300 ships would be destroyed in less than 6 hours if they fought the hegemony. The aliens had enough firepower to turn every human world into lifeless rock within a few days. On Mars Colony, Commander Amy Rodriguez received her orders from Earth. She was to prepare the colony's defenses and organize evacuation procedures. Amy stared at the message and laughed bitterly. "How do you evacuate 17 star systems in 1 year?" Where would 40 billion humans go? Amy called her staff together in the main conference room. The colony administrators, military officers, and civilian leaders sat around the table looking like people attending their own funeral. You've all seen the reports, Amy said. The hegemony isn't giving us a choice we can actually make. Even if we wanted to surrender, moving 40 billion people to one world is impossible. Colony Administrator Steve Martin spoke up. The logistics alone would take decades. We don't have enough ships to move even 1% of our population in a year. Chief Engineer Bill Tucker nodded. And that's assuming this designated world can support 40 billion people, which it probably can't. This isn't a surrender demand. It's an execution order with extra steps. Amy stood up and walked to the window overlooking New Phoenix City. 2 million people lived in the sprawling metropolis built inside the dome that protected them from Mars's thin atmosphere. In 1 year, if humanity obeyed the hegemony, all of these people would have to abandon everything they had built. There's something else, Amy said. Intelligence analysis suggests the hegemony has done this before. They let species surrender, relocate them to prison worlds, then eliminate them after 50 years to prevent future uprisings. The room fell silent. Dr. Patricia Kim, the colony's head scientist, was the first to speak. So our choice isn't really between survival and death. It's between dying as slaves or dying as free people. President Karen White sat in her office beneath the Swiss Alps, reading reports from every human colony. The response was the same everywhere: shock, fear, and growing anger. Some colonies wanted to surrender immediately. Others called for immediate preparation for war. Most were simply paralyzed by the enormity of what they faced. Admiral Paul Davis entered the office carrying a thick folder of military assessments. His face looked older than it had a week ago. Madam President, you asked for honest evaluations of our military capabilities. Karen nodded. Give me the truth, Paul. All of it. Paul opened the folder and read from the first page. Our entire fleet consists of 312 ships. The largest is the battleship Enterprise, which masses about 800,000 tons. The alien ships we encountered mass between 8 and 50 million tons each. He turned the page. Our most powerful weapons are fusion torpedoes and particle beam cannons. Based on sensor readings, these weapons might damage the outer hull of a hegemony ship if we concentrated all our firepower on a single target. Karen felt sick but kept listening. What about our defensive capabilities? Our planetary defense systems could probably stop conventional attacks for a few hours. The hegemony's planet-killing weapons would go through our shields like they weren't there. Paul closed the folder and looked directly at the president. Madam President, if we fight the hegemony, humanity will be extinct within a week. That's the military reality. Karen stared out the window at the mountains surrounding the underground complex. Somewhere up there, people were going about their normal lives, not knowing that their species had just received a death sentence. What about evacuation? Could we load up our fastest ships and run? Paul shook his head. They're monitoring all of our systems. Any ship that tries to leave human space will be destroyed immediately. They've made it clear that running isn't an option. The secure communication system activated, showing split screens of colony leaders from across human space. Governor Robert Chen from New Shanghai spoke first. Madam President, we need to be realistic about this situation. Fighting the hegemony is suicide. We should begin surrender negotiations immediately. Commander Rodriguez's image appeared on another screen. With respect, Governor Chen, surrender negotiations are pointless. They've already decided our fate. The only question is whether we die fighting or die begging. Dr. Brooks joined the conference from her laboratory. I've been analyzing their technology and their historical patterns. Every species that surrendered to the hegemony was eventually eliminated. They allow subject species to exist for exactly 50 years, then quietly exterminate them to prevent rebellions. Governor Chen looked frustrated. Even 50 years is better than dying next week. We have to think about survival. Amy Rodriguez leaned forward toward her camera. Survival isn't living in a cage waiting to be executed. I've been talking to people across Mars colony. Nobody wants to spend their last years as prisoners. More colony leaders joined the debate. Some supported surrender, hoping for mercy that would never come. Others demanded immediate military preparation, knowing it was hopeless. A few suggested trying to negotiate, not understanding that the hegemony didn't negotiate. President White listened to the arguments for hours. Every option led to the same conclusion: humanity was going to die. The only choice was how they would face their extinction. Late that night, Karen received a message from Captain Morrison. The Defiant had arrived at Earth carrying complete sensor records of the hegemony fleet. His report confirmed everything they already knew and added one more terrible detail: the hegemony ships had been scanning human settlements while delivering their ultimatum. They were already choosing targets and planning attack routes. The aliens had never intended to honor any surrender agreement. They were simply giving humanity time to suffer before the killing began. Karen made her decision at dawn. She activated the emergency broadcast system that would reach every human in the galaxy. My fellow humans, we have learned the truth about our situation. The hegemony offers us no real choice between life and death. They offer us only a choice between how we die. She paused, looking directly into the camera. I have consulted with military leaders, scientists, and colony governors across human space. The evidence is clear. Surrender leads to the same destination as resistance: the extinction of our species. Karen stood up, her voice growing stronger. Therefore, I am calling for a vote of all human colonies. Do we spend our final year preparing to fight? Or do we spend it preparing to surrender to an enemy that will kill us regardless? The vote took place over 3 days using quantum communication networks. Every human settlement participated, from the largest cities to the smallest mining stations. When the counting finished, the result was closer than anyone expected. 54% of humanity voted for defiance over surrender. It wasn't a landslide, but it was enough. President White addressed the species one final time. Humanity has chosen to face extinction on our feet rather than on our knees. We have 1 year to prepare for a war we cannot win. Let's make it count. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UCS Defiant, watching the stars through the main view screen. The exploration vessel had been traveling through the Kepler 442 system for 3 weeks, mapping new worlds and checking for signs of life. Jake had spent 15 years exploring space, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on his sensors that morning. The ship's computer made a soft beeping sound. Lieutenant Amy Carter, the communications officer, looked up from her station with wide eyes. Captain, we're getting some kind of signal. It's not from Earth or any human colony. Jake walked over to her station and looked at the data flowing across her screen. The signal was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It used quantum frequencies that human technology could barely detect. Can you decode it? Amy worked at her controls for several minutes. I think so, sir. The computer is working on it now. She paused and looked worried. Captain, there's something else. Long-range sensors are picking up ships approaching our position. Big ships. Jake felt his heart start beating faster. In all his years of space exploration, humans had never found any sign of intelligent alien life. Now it seemed like alien life had found them. How big are these ships? Amy checked her instruments again. The largest one is about 10 times the size of our biggest battleship. There are at least 50 of them, maybe more. Jake hit the communication button on his chair. All hands, this is the captain. We may have made first contact with an alien species. Everyone stay calm and follow standard first contact procedures. The alien ships arrived within an hour. Jake watched through the view screen as massive vessels appeared out of nowhere, using some kind of technology that folded space around them. The ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time, made of what looked like living crystal that pulsed with strange lights. The communication system came to life with a voice that sounded like wind chimes mixed with thunder. Amy had set up the translation computer, and words appeared on the screen as the alien spoke. Human vessel, you will prepare to receive a representative of the hegemony. Your species has been observed. Your expansion through space has been noted. You will now learn your place in the galactic order. Jake looked around his bridge at his crew. Communications Officer Amy Carter looked scared but determined. Navigation Officer Peter Walsh was checking his instruments over and over. Chief Engineer Linda Ross had come up from the engine room and stood near the back of the bridge, her face pale. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel Defiant. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations with your people." The alien voice came back immediately. "Peace is not a choice you can make, human. You will comply with hegemony directives or face consequences." A bright light filled the bridge as something materialized in front of Jake's command chair. The alien was twice as tall as a human, made of the same crystal material as their ships. It moved smoothly without making any sound, and its eyes glowed with blue fire. "I am Overseer Zenthka of the Hegemony Council. Your species will receive one opportunity to understand your situation." Jake tried to stay calm, but his hands were shaking. "We're listening." The alien raised one crystalline hand, and images appeared in the air around them. Jake saw worlds burning, cities being destroyed by weapons from space, and entire planets turned into empty rock floating in the darkness. "The hegemony has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 of your years. We have brought order to chaos, peace to war, and stability to millions of worlds. 43 species have challenged our authority. You see their fate." More images appeared. Jake saw the remains of huge cities, empty space stations, and dead worlds covered in the ruins of civilizations that no longer existed. "Your species has developed too quickly. Your technology advances too fast. Your expansion through space threatens the balance we have maintained. Therefore, the Hegemony Council has decided your fate." The alien's eyes grew brighter as it spoke. "Humanity will cease all expansion beyond your current 17 systems. You will surrender your artificial intelligence technology to hegemony oversight. You will relocate your entire population to the world we will designate within one standard year. You will submit to hegemony guidance in all matters of governance and development." Jake felt sick to his stomach, but he had to ask the question. "And if we refuse?" The images changed to show massive fleets of crystal ships surrounding planets and firing beams of energy that turned entire worlds into clouds of glowing dust. "Refusal means extinction. Your choice is simple. Submit or die." The alien gestured again, and Jake could see that the same conversation was happening on every human world and space station at the exact same time. The quantum communication system was reaching every human settlement across 17 star systems. "You have one standard year to comply. Hegemony monitors will observe your progress. Any attempt to flee beyond your current territory will result in immediate destruction. Any attempt to hide your technology will result in immediate destruction. Any act of aggression will result in immediate destruction." Jake looked at his crew and saw the same shock and fear in their eyes that he felt in his heart. Humanity had dreamed of meeting alien life for centuries, but nobody had imagined this nightmare. The hegemony has ruled for millennia because we are perfect at maintaining order. We do not negotiate. We do not compromise. We do not show mercy to those who threaten stability. You have seen what happens to species that choose wrongly. The alien began to fade away, but its voice remained clear. "Choose wisely, humans. Submit and live under our guidance, or resist and join the 43 extinct species that made the same mistake." The bridge fell silent as the alien disappeared completely. Jake looked at the view screen and watched the massive crystal ships vanish into folded space, leaving only empty stars and the terrible knowledge that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Amy broke the silence with a whisper. "Captain, what do we do now?" Jake stared at the stars for a long moment before answering. "We go home and tell everyone what just happened. Then humanity decides whether we want to live on our knees or die on our feet." The final battle began at Earth's moon, where Admiral Morrison led the last 50 human warships against a hegemony fleet that blackened the stars. The lunar surface was covered with weapon installations and defensive positions built by people who knew they would never live to see them used. Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching his sensors track over 300 alien capital ships approaching Earth. His own fleet consisted of battle-damaged vessels held together by determination and desperation, crewed by people who had volunteered to die defending humanity's birth world. "All ships, this is Morrison," he broadcast on the fleet channel. We've come a long way from that first day when the aliens told us to surrender. Today we show them what humans do when cornered. The space battle around Luna was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships, too few and too weak to fight, conventionally used tactics that horrified and amazed the hegemony commanders. Damaged vessels rammed alien ships, exploding reactors were used as weapons, and disabled fighters continued attacking even after their life support failed. Captain Sandra Cole, commanding the heavy cruiser Independence, found herself facing 3 hegemony destroyers with her ship's main weapons destroyed and hull breaches on every deck. Instead of retreating, she ordered maximum acceleration toward the largest alien vessel. "This is Cole to all human forces," she transmitted as her ship accelerated toward certain destruction. "Independence is making her final run. Tell Earth we held the line as long as we could." The Independence struck the alien destroyer at nearly half the speed of light, creating an explosion visible from Earth's surface. Both ships vanished in a ball of plasma that damaged 2 other hegemony vessels and temporarily disrupted their battle formation. On Earth itself, President White coordinated the planet's defense from her command bunker deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Reports flooded in from defense installations around the globe as hegemony landing forces began their assault on humanity's birth world. General Katie Bell, transferred from Mars after that colony's fall, commanded Earth's ground defenses from a mobile command post that moved through the ruins of what had once been Geneva. Her forces were a mixture of regular military units, civilian volunteers, and teenagers who had learned to fight during humanity's final year. "They're landing in North America, Europe, and Asia simultaneously," Katie reported to President White. "Estimated enemy strength is over 2 million ground troops, supported by atmospheric fighters and mobile weapons platforms." White looked at the tactical displays showing red markers spreading across every continent. "How long can we hold them?" "Honestly, Madam President, we should have been overrun already, but something strange is happening. Their troops seem confused by our tactics. They keep expecting us to surrender when surrounded, but we keep fighting." Instead, the strange behavior Katie observed was happening across the planet. Hegemony soldiers, programmed by millennia of fighting species that knew when to quit, found themselves facing an enemy that fought harder when outnumbered and never stopped attacking, even when defeat was certain. In the ruins of New York, 18-year-old Private Jake Patterson led his squad in a desperate defense of a subway tunnel that served as a supply route for human forces in Manhattan. Armed with weapons salvaged from destroyed vehicles and explosives made from household chemicals, his unit held off alien assault troops for 3 days. "Why do they keep coming?" asked Private Lisa Chen, firing her last ammunition at the crystalline soldiers advancing through the tunnel. "Don't they understand we can't win?" Jake reloaded his weapon with bullets he had made himself in a basement workshop. "That's the point. We're not trying to win anymore. We're trying to make them remember us." The breakthrough came when Dr. Kim's AI systems operating from hidden facilities around the globe achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. Using captured hegemony communication networks, they began broadcasting the complete record of humanity's resistance to every world under alien rule. The transmission included battle recordings showing humans fighting impossible odds, final messages from dying colonists, philosophical essays about freedom versus survival, and artistic works created during humanity's final year. For the first time in millennia, enslaved species across the galaxy witnessed a people choosing death over submission. On the world of Kethva, in the Andromeda sector, a species called the Builders received the human transmissions in their underground hiding places. The Builders had surrendered to the hegemony 3 centuries earlier and lived as industrial slaves producing ships and weapons for their masters. The eldest builder, Kethmore 7, watched the recordings of human soldiers fighting from the ruins of their cities and felt something he had thought was extinct among his people. "Hope. Look at them," he transmitted to other builder colonies. "They know they cannot win, yet they continue to fight. They choose to die as free beings rather than live as slaves." Similar reactions occurred on 40 other worlds across hegemony space. Species that had forgotten the meaning of resistance suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. Underground networks began forming. Weapons were hidden. and revolutionary plans were made for the first time in thousands of years. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison made his final decision as hegemony planet-killer ships moved into bombardment position. The Defiant was the last human warship still capable of fighting, its crew reduced to 12 people and its weapons barely functional. "All remaining human forces, this is Admiral Morrison," he broadcast on all frequencies. "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve with you. Earth's children are going home." Morrison ordered maximum acceleration directly toward the hegemony flagship carrying Overseer Zenthka. The Defiant's damaged engines could barely push the ship to combat speed, but it would be enough for what Morrison had planned. The collision between the Defiant and the alien flagship created a quantum explosion that could be seen from Mars. Both ships were destroyed instantly, along with Overseer Zenthka and Admiral Morrison. The explosion disrupted the hegemony fleet's coordination just as the final assault on Earth's surface began. President White, in her final transmission from the collapsing command bunker, spoke to an audience she knew would not survive to hear. Her words, "We have shown the galaxy what humanity represents. We chose defiance over survival, freedom over security, and death over slavery. Let our example burn in the darkness until others find the courage to follow." The artificial intelligences recorded everything. As Earth burned and the last human resistance positions were overrun, Dr. Kim's quantum consciousness matrices compiled the complete story of humanity's final stand and transmitted it across the galaxy using hegemony communication networks. The AI systems designed to survive humanity's extinction established hidden networks throughout hegemony space. They carried with them the memory of their creators and the example of a species that refused to surrender, even when surrender was the only rational choice. Within months of humanity's extinction, the first uprisings began. The builders of HFY were the first to rebel, using weapons they had secretly manufactured in their slave factories. They broadcast human battle recordings as they attacked hegemony installations, shouting war cries in languages the aliens had never heard. The rebellion spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly remembered what freedom meant. The hegemony, which had maintained perfect order for 10,000 years, found itself fighting 40 simultaneous uprisings inspired by the example of the extinct species that had chosen to die standing up. The artificial intelligences guided and supported the rebellions, sharing human knowledge and tactical innovations with species that had forgotten how to fight. The quantum consciousness matrices that had once controlled human warships now coordinated rebel fleets across dozens of star systems. Centuries after the last human died on Earth, historians would mark humanity's final stand as the beginning of the hegemony's collapse. The alien empire, which had seemed eternal and invincible, crumbled as enslaved species chose freedom over survival and defiance over submission. On the liberated world of HFY, now renamed New Defiance, the former slaves erected a monument to the species that had shown them how to die with dignity, and in doing so, taught them how to live free. The inscription, written in human English and translated into 43 galactic languages, read simply, "To the humans who showed us that some things are worth dying for, and that the courage to defy tyranny is the most precious gift one species can give to another." The galaxy remembered.